This is One-on-One. Just looking at?
We were looking at the second act of Swan Lake, at the of ABT's production of Swan Lake, at the entrance of the swans in the second act.
And I was just telling you that my mom got us into Swan Lake as a kid, and you're just listening to Kevin McKenzie, who is the artistic director at ABT, American Ballet Theatre. How you doing?
You know, really well.
and you know, we were just talking about this. You were a principal dancer for how long?
I was principal dancer at ABT for 12 years.
And you've been the artistic director for 20.
The last 20, yeah.
And we're looking at that's you?
That's me, yeah. Yeah.
When did you know? I just asked a young singer
Yeah.
when she knew, when she wanted to sing on the segment before this. When did you know you wanted to dance and dance in this way?
About 15 years old, and I had been dancing, you know, in ballet schools and ballet studios and whatnot for about 5 or 6 years. But I had seriously started training in Washington, D.C. for 2 years or so with a mindset in a type of school that was preparing a group of kids to be professional theater artists, and specifically ballet dancers. But it really wasn't until I was about 15 that I realized, oh my God, I could do this. I think I can do this.
You could tell you were good at it? Or you could be good at it?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think I knew I was good at it, but it dawned on me that I had the passion to do it, and that in some way, shape, or form, I was going to dance whether I did it professionally or not.
Huh.
But it was at that moment when I saw something, and it was American Ballet Theatre, and the artists that were dancing at that time, that I had such an affinity for what they were doing and how they were doing it. And I had the feeling that I could do that. And it's somewhere I went, that's what I'm going to be.
American Ballet Theatre started when?
In 1940.
Who started it?
It was started, technically it was founded by a man named Richard Pleasant, but it's kind of widely acknowledged that it was Lucia Chase, who became its artistic director 5 years after it got established. And she directed it for the first 40 years of its existence. And it was through her, she tried to underplay the financial largesse, that her role that way with it, and really took on more of an artistic role. And she had remarkable taste. She was about getting in the best of the best and trying to define what was American. Of course, Saul Hurok came into the picture and presented the company, and the marketing had to say the best in Russian ballet, because that's what the public, you think theater, you think British, you think ballet, you think Russian.
Is that where Baryshnikov comes in?
Much later, but yes, during in the 70s when he defected, he made American Ballet Theatre his home, and at that time Lucia Chase was the director. And I came in as a dancer just on the end of that. I was Lucia's last promotion before she retired, and Misha became the director, and he was my director for the bulk of for 10 years of my tenure as a dancer there.
Interesting. For ABT, the business, I'm always fascinated by the business of arts organizations. WNET, our partners, and this is the Tisch WNET studio at Lincoln Center. It's an incredible cultural institution, but it's a business. We run our production company as a not-for-profit, but we are a business. Your business. How does your business operate? And is it about branding ballet and what you do and getting people to come? And
it's all of it. It's a nonprofit, so that in itself is a skewed thing because of the amount of money it takes to run a huge institution like this. This is
Yes.
a $40 million a year operation.
40 million.
Right. And most nonprofits operate on a 50-50 model. They earn 50% and they raise 50%.
Right.
The paradigm since the big crash has changed. We are now earning 60% and raising 40%, which puts us into a more business-oriented frame of mind. Every action has a reaction, and when there's not enough money to pay for something, you have a bigger compromise to make.
What's the market for ballet?
Well, you know,
Is ballet for everyone?
ballet is not necessarily for everyone, but I think that there's a difference between having a taste for it and understanding that something is good and excellent. Some people can say, jazz is not my thing, but they will recognize that Wynton Marsalis is a fabulous, outrageously talented, and highly contributing cultural icon. That part of it, ballet is for everyone.
But you know, it's interesting, you wouldn't know if ballet was your thing unless you had information, you're educated about it. So that's why education and outreach is a huge part of it. So talk about the
Absolutely.
education and outreach piece of ABT.
In the end, you know, we have to supply. When we as a country decided that we were no longer going to make arts and education a priority,
By the way, as you're talking, I'm sorry for interrupting, as you're talking, we're showing some shots of ABT, arts and education programming. So go ahead, I'm sorry.
It falls on the artistic institutions to not only create their next audience,
Right.
but to underscore the transformative power of the performing arts.
Oh, the transformative power.
Well,
Explain
let
that.
me put it this way. We have, in our educational programs, we reach a lot of people. We reach 1,100 kids in our summer schools across the country. We present at our Young People Ballets Workshop. We have access to 3,000 students who see free performances. People don't wake up at 25 and, you know, who've never been exposed to it and say, I know, let's go to the ballet. They just don't do it unless
Right.
they have been exposed to it. So our programs are geared towards the adults who have children, to give them access to cheaper tickets, to give students access to cheaper tickets, to under 30s young professionals, a special group for discounts and things like that. Reward early investment behavior.
Creative incentives.
Creative incentives. And the education programs are geared towards finding, like we have a program called Make a Ballet, where we reach 500 kids in the city in public and private schools, where we demonstrate to them by going into one of their classes and usurping it for the season. And they put on a professional level ballet. They choose their topic, they choose their music or write it, they choreograph it themselves, they have to market it, they have to raise the money for it. Suddenly, how sports is sometimes the example that there's a way to get off the streets, that the life in theater, you don't have to, we're not expecting them to become the next great ballet dancer, but there is a lifestyle and a higher purpose of communication to be achieved. And the sense of team effort to get
Kevin,
get
you just
together.
exposed a lot of people and helped us understand about ballet. Thank you.
Thank you.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Caldwell College, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, auto insurance, homeowners insurance, and banking under the principle of stewardship. QualCare Inc., a local managed care company covering 750,000 New Jersey residents. And by Verizon Communications. Promotional support provided by The Record, North Jersey's trusted source, and northjersey.com. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.